Story 1. They annoy me. I have no patience. They take up a lot of time, they're expensive, and I would be extremely scared all the time about how they would turn out. Story 2. Because I don't. Never once in my life have I wanted children. It has never appealed to me to be pregnant or raise children, so I am simply opting not to. Story 3. Because I do not want to guide the development of a new psychology. There are already 8 billion people, and I do not believe the world will be a better place in 60 years. Story 4. Because I've never felt the urge to gestate a growing 5 to 10 pound parasite in my body and then let it claw its monstrous way out of my vagina. Glorious siren call of motherhood. Story 5. A climate disaster. B. Obesity and dementia genes. C. Cost of childcare. D. I like naps and late nights out. E. Lots of kids who need to be adopted if I am ever in a good place. F. We still do not know how to raise kids with the internet. My nephew has an iPhone at 11 years old and is constantly on Roblox. I have walked in on him talking on speakerphone and heard something about My Little Pony. Friendship is magic rule 34 in the group text. I had Xbox Live and Halo 3 in high school, so I know the feeling of having all your friends not be interested in physically hanging out. I definitely threatened a good number of people with a skull beating before my voice dropped. For some reason, I think we are moving to a future where babies are handed an iPad and a Fortnite account at birth, and it kind of freaks me out. Story 6. I don't see a single good part in having them. All your free time, money, and space will go to them. I like to travel and be spontaneous. A child will make this difficult and an unnecessary burden. Besides, all parents look very tired and annoyed with their children 80% of the time. Story 7. 1. I never asked to be born. I'm not particularly pleased with the fact I was, and I can't in good conscience force someone else to be born. The world's a bit of a mess and getting worse, and the people responsible for making sure it's okay would rather exploit the system and achieve a high score. I can't force prospective children to face climate change destroying human civilization as we know it. The best thing an individual human can do to combat climate change is to not have children. I'm not mentally healthy enough to raise children the way I'd want to. I'm getting there, but I'll be too old by the time I've gotten to that point. 40 plus easily. I value my comfort, independence, and freedom quite highly. Story 8. I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I sleep. I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I sleep. I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I sleep. I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I sleep. I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I sleep. I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I sleep. Does this sound like a life I should bring a kid into? I do not enjoy this one bit, so there is no reason for me to believe my child would. I am giving them the best gift any parent can give their child. Non-existence. Forget this world. Story 9. Because you shouldn't have children just to have a child or just to continue the family line or to take care of you when you're elderly or anything like that. You should have children when you are in a loving relationship and you both want to experience parenting and bringing life into the world, and you're ready to love and support that child. I am not financially ready, nor do either my partner or I want to have a child in the world with the way it is. There's too much uncertainty in the future, and seeing the challenges facing the current generation of children and also the world at large, political, environmental, economic, it's not something we are comfortable doing. In another timeline where the world isn't so messed up, she would absolutely be the woman I want to have a child with. It's just not the reality for us. Story 10. I can hardly take care of myself, and honestly, I don't think I'll be finding a husband anytime soon. No one has caught my eye, and I'm getting tired of playing games with men. Story 11. The United States dislikes women. They dislike mothers. They dislike pregnant women. They dislike single mothers. They dislike mothers, period. You're criticized no matter what. You're a promiscuous person, a gold digger, whatever. There is very little help or empathy for mothers at the government level or as a society. Men dislike women. Straight men dislike women. Gay men dislike women. And I'm going to digitally slap anyone who says not all men, because this isn't about you feeling uncomfortable. Men take pleasure in humiliating women on a large scale. We have one of the highest maternal mortality rates of industrialized nations. At best, in some circumstances, you have 12 weeks of unpaid maternity leave. 3 months of unpaid leave before you have to be back at work. What are you supposed to do with that infant? What are you supposed to do with your recovering body? The hormones, the nursing challenges, and I could go on and on about the unreliability of men. Cheaters, liars, irresponsible, uninvolved, entitled, lazy. And though it's not necessarily their fault, they can't make single-income household money, so the woman has to work, and in most cases still carry the burden of running the household. No, thank you. Why would I take on that tremendous sacrifice and risk? Why? So I can worry about them being shot in schools? So I have to sit them down and explain why their grandfather, who had everything in his life, thinks that people of different backgrounds and women took something from him so he dislikes them? So I can watch my sons be influenced by extreme right-wing manipulators online? I think not. I'm single. I make good money. I own my own house. I have a new car. I have 2 dogs. I have friends. I have hobbies. I have fun. Why would I give that all up? Story 12. I do not have anything against kids, but I do not want that responsibility. I love the freedom of being able to decide what I want to do at any moment while also having the money to do so. So many people I know that have kids have revolved their whole lives around their children. And while I think that can be a good thing, it is not something I want out of life. Story 13. Eggs are nearly $8. You can't rent a place for less than a few thousand a month. The $1 menu hasn't been $1 in 10 years. Schools are underfunded, and teachers are overworked. They don't even want to provide buses, and every other year we're arguing about if school kids deserve food. And God forbid somebody decides to shoot the place up. Jobs pay us poorly, and health insurance is the most expensive mandatory subscription service you'll ever have. None of the services meant to help struggling folks are actually capable of doing that due to their own set of issues. Having a child right now seems selfish and irresponsible. It's also dangerous. The Black maternal mortality rate is through the roof. I don't trust this place for me to birth safely. On top of that, it's very hard and annoying work. Story 14. Because the government only sees a child as a worker, I do not want to have a baby just so they can become another spoke in the wheel for this hellscape of late-stage capitalism we are all living in. Story 15. I have very little faith that they would inherit a world worth inheriting. I cannot morally justify bringing a child into a world on the brink of falling into World War III. Honestly, my guess is that if humanity is still around in 50 years, we will look back on today as part of World War III. Ukraine and Palestine were the opening salvos. Story 16. Do not like them. Have never liked them. Do not think they are cute. Do not think they are funny. Do not think they are little miracles. I do not like the mess or the noise or the chaos, and sure as hell do not want the responsibility. It is bad enough I have to deal with everyone else's kids. Story 17. Because parenting is relentless. Most parents seem tired, stressed, and like they have no hobbies of their own. I had enough responsibility in my younger years, and in many ways I raised myself. I do not want the worry and stress that parenting brings. It is amazing only having to keep myself alive. Story 18. As a woman, I don't want to put my body through that. And for all the other reasons mentioned, including time, money, sleep, the world, and my mental illnesses, I wouldn't adopt either. I just have never seen myself as a mother. Story 19. Not only do I not like kids, but pregnancy is something I would never want. I never want anything growing inside of me and dealing with so many side effects. Story 20. The planet is in shambles. I am living through war, famine, suffering, and so many evils caused by other humans. I would rather die than make one more child experience these horrors. Story 21. I am disabled with a poor income. I cannot have children of my own due to health reasons, and I am glad about that. The last thing I want to do is bring children into this world, especially in the United States. I do not want them to inherit my health issues. I could not care for them because of money issues. The United States is such an unsafe place right now. The older generation is damaging the planet and making fun of younger generations trying to fix global warming. This world is not a place for children. Story 22. It seems so miserable. I've not met one single person who has children who has convinced me to have them. They're always so stressed and tired but add on, but it's worth it. Because they feel they can't honestly express how much harder their life became since having children. I also can't think of a single thing I currently do in my life that makes me think, you know what would make this better? A child. Forget that. Story 23. Because as I am sure we all believe we would be great parents, life happens. I do not want to set myself up for the torment of having kids. Yes, I am sure there will be times my heart would explode with love and affection, but there is also a dark side of being a parent I do not want to experience. So I will never give myself that opportunity to go through that emotionally, physically, or mentally. I just do not want to be a part of it. Story 24. Look around. Even if I wanted kids, I have a hard time imagining anybody being happy about being dropped helplessly into this mess. If you are having a child for your own satisfaction, I feel like they deserve better. If you can't offer a child even a glass-half-full level of real-world prospective optimism, why burden yourself with the torture of trying to raise a life you knew full well would be burdened from the get-go and likely more after you're gone? To be clear, to all the mothers and fathers out there, this is not a slight against you. Keep doing what you're doing. All love. It just isn't a logical or even a reasonable option for a lot of people. Story 25. Because I don't want to bring life into a world as screwed up as ours is now, especially in the United States. As long as Project 2025 and Make America Great Again are around, we are in danger. Story 26. Because we don't owe you an explanation for your breeding agenda. Just knock it off and let people live their lives as they please, which is mind-boggling to controlling narcissistic fascists. Story 27. 1. I only have one life. I want to live it for myself, not someone else. I don't want to sacrifice my body, peace, sanity, retirement, and money to raise some guy's child. They aren't deserving of that. Having children ages you insanely. I don't have enough money to live comfortably with a child. I could majorly mess up the kid. My kid could turn out to be a mess. I don't have the patience. Story 28. I used to want like 3. My mind has definitely changed for several reasons. For one, I have had a miscarriage in the past and have discovered I have thyroid issues since then that I'm still working out. I mean, yeah, I could probably still conceive and give birth, but it's more of a risk to my health and just more challenging overall. 2, kids are expensive as well. I can barely take care of myself and watched my parents struggle growing up. Things are only about to get more expensive in the United States as well. Let's not forget about the threat of climate change either. 3, I have been in numerous toxic relationships and just don't think I'll ever trust someone enough to make a whole human with them. If they are a horrible person, I don't want to permanently be stuck with them. I'm debating whether or not I even believe in marriage anymore. Don't get me wrong, I have my fair share of bad traits too. I absolutely love kids, but they need stable, dependable parents that don't fight constantly. Story 29. I would like to have children, but given my life circumstances, I would rather not have one. I am not capable of having children in all aspects. Financially, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. It is also difficult to raise a child in this generation and economy. I do not want to have a child just for the sake of having one because I do not want my child to experience hardships because of my insecurities, flaws, and failures. I understand that more than anybody else, and I would rather not have that than be condemned. Story 30. I have no job. I am a college student. My attention deficit hyperactivity disorder medication is possibly going to be taken away. Not confirmed but not denied. I still live with my parents. I am also Black, so there is not really a strong guarantee that I would make it through childbirth, statistically speaking. And babies are expensive. Story 31. Messy, noisy, germy, needy, annoying bundles of joy in my eyes. Besides, I'm not role model material. I lack the patience, and the expenses involved in raising them would overwhelm me. Moreover, I seriously do not like children. At least I knew that about myself and never had them. Story 32. I have worked in public education for 15 years. The future looks bleak in general, but especially tough for kids. Learning, critical thinking, and resilience have been decreasing for over a decade and have nosedived in the last 5 years. Gutting public education will not help and will be especially harmful to the most at-risk kids, like children with disabilities. Bringing a child into this world feels cruel. I will stick with helping the ones who are already here. Story 33. I am a 23-year-old married male. I cannot deal with the nonsense that comes with a child. I do not want to lose years of my life for a child when I could be traveling with my wife and doing what we want when we want. The money is also a problem because they are very expensive, and I would rather spend it on my wife and me. It sounds selfish, but perhaps I am when it comes to my wife and me. Story 34. Well, one of the reasons is every time something annoying, difficult, or horrible happens, I think to myself, and then there's people who have to deal with this while also having children. It's also really selfish to have children because when one decides, the only thing that person is fulfilling is their own wish to procreate. The child doesn't exist yet, so it can't wish for anything. The future parent selfishly fulfills their own need to procreate, to have someone when they're old, whatever. Selfish.